Hello, this is Lisa Hazard with We're All Psychic. It is April 24th. Oh, I hope it's April 24th. I'm pretty sure it is. Time just flew. This month flew. Um, yes, I still think we're all psychic. I just asked the question in my head and answered it aloud. That's kind of cool. No, it really isn't. It's just talking to yourself. But you know what? Talking to yourself can get you a lot of places. Um, Self talk. So I was talking to myself about the podcast, and I thought, why don't I just record one? So I've been, you know, reflecting on all the interviews we've done in the last year and a half, and feel like there's a lot of common threads in the stories we hear from people both developing their skills, their psychic skills, their magic skills, their energy work, their healing abilities. And there are people who are already actively working with it that we've interviewed who are professionals in their fields. And or some are experts, if there can be such a thing as an expert in a psychic field. I mean, there's experts who can eat more hot dogs than other people, so why not? I don't think it's very measurable, like how many hot dogs you eat, but maybe someday there will be some kind of measuring tool. A main common thread I see with both people learning about this side of themselves and people working actively with the energy. The thing I see in common is a desire to know themselves, and in some, a desire for power over their own uh, self sabotage, power over their own understanding of others and themselves. Um, I don't feel I interviewed anybody who has any unethical angles or approach this kind of work with greed in mind or selfish motives. Everybody who is even developing or people who are working all their lives with energy and making money too that have been on this podcast, I judge them as good people, and they don't seem to have any bad intentions except to help themselves, and then ultimately once they want to help other people, which, if you look at the other parts of the physical human experience, physical body, the senses of smell and hearing and touch, taste, those are ours. We can't really share. We can share touch, and we do, but I guess we can share taste. But we don't know what the other person's tongue tastes like, how our tongue tastes. But aside from that, silly. Um, yeah, there's a lot in common in the desire to do good and a desire to help other people once people have come to a place where they accept the energy work and that they do it. They have seen results. And then they really do want to share it with other people. They want to share the wisdom. They want to share their knowledge. And they want to share their energy. And everyone I spoke with on this podcast, they want to do it because they want to, not because they're going to get anything from it. And I think that's just wonderful. Most energy healers or workers, anybody I've met in person who wasn't on the podcast, they're into doing it for helping other people. And I find that admirable, and I relate to it, but I never thought of it as an admirable trait in me. It's just like that's what I do it for. It's really fun to make people feel better. And as I talked about in the empathy podcasts, but a lot of empaths will want to help other people feel better because then they empathically feel the other person feeling better and they feel better. So it's like a two-way street, just like physical touch can be. Another common thread I saw or heard and saw and just processed with a lot of the energy workers who are professionals or working with energy all the time, especially for other people. There's a loneliness there. I don't know if listeners, you heard that too. There's an isolated kind of feeling for a lot of these people, and maybe I recognize that because I have that too to some degree. I used to have a really bad personal, private, just away from everybody. Had a hard time being around people. As you might know from other podcasts, I had agoraphobia most of my life on and off. And if you are a person who has a hard time leaving the house, you might want to look into, techniques to free yourself of agoraphobia if you want to be free of it. It's possible. I just want to throw that out there. But yes, there's a loneliness. When we did the podcasts, we would meet on Zoom and usually chat for a little bit before each podcast and afterwards too, sometimes. All the guests, almost all of them, they said it's so nice to be able to talk about this stuff with somebody. I feel like people act like I'm crazy when I start bringing this stuff up. There's just no one for me to talk to. It's a common thing I heard with a lot of people that we interviewed, outside of the interview. And I related to them too. I said, yes, that's why I wanted to do this podcast. I wanted to talk to people about this stuff. It's so awesome to talk about and hear about. I mean, hearing from these people, these lovely readers and people like working and developing their skills. It's like, wow, maybe that loneliness is something that is an advantage in a way to being able to develop and being able to help. Doesn't feel like an advantage, maybe so much, but we have so much time to reflect. And the big advantage that I've seen from the podcast on my end is being able to talk about this stuff with people. And it's validation for me too, because I still have doubts, still have like, is this real? What did that happen? What happened? For example, I mean, I at this point I mean, I'm still seeing things that I don't believe, and it just gets more and more and more as the time goes by, and I work with more energy and talk to more people. But my one of my sons is interested in working with energy, so he is learning tarot, and he's good with candles, lighting candles and stuff, making wishes, like candle magic. And the other day, he said he wanted to light a red candle and exercise, so he did. And he came out. We were talking. Came out of his room. We were talking for a little while, and he went back in, and he came out, and he says, "Lisa," he says, "my candle." He said, "When I left the bedroom, the candle had burned out, and I came back in." He said there was a little tuft of white smoke that just came up, but that candle had been out for like minutes. Where did that come from? He was just, ooh, he was excited. I was too. I said, "Hey, it's magic. You don't know." No, but it's white smoke, though. They say white smoke from a candle is wish granted. So he was very happy. I'm very happy that he got to see a magic smoke because it's pretty cool when that stuff happens. And it does to everybody. I have seen it. And if it's happening to you and you want to explore it further, listen to more of the podcast, read books, get lots of information from all the sources you can, especially your own. Trust yourself, trust your judgment, trust your ability to discern what resonates with you, what you hear and read and what other people say. What do you relate to? What aspect of energy work do you relate to personally for you? And if you were to explore it, what direction would you want to go in? Usually the thing you're interested in the most is the direction you would be very good at going in. I feel like all of these skills are related. I feel that if you open one door of energy work, you will open them all if you want. If there's an infinite many doors, you will open them if you want. One of the wonderful things about energy work is it does give me and so many people, it looks like to me, a sense of self, a power over self. And that self sabotage is just one example that I used earlier in this podcast. I do readings a lot. I do readings all the time. Love doing tarot readings and medium readings, and I love doing dream interpretation. I used to do shamanic trance work. Um, I mean, I love all of it, and there have been times when it was scary. Um, but I was able to learn from scary and figure out what was scary. A lot of that is the reflection. But in the moment, if something scary happens, and by that it can be a vision or an image or a thought or maybe the instead of like my son seeing white smoke come out of the candle, like maybe he would see something scary. Like it could be a door opening and closing on its own. It could be a strange sound in the room that doesn't make any sense, and even the cats look, and it's just like, what was that? And there's nothing there. Be scary. Would you look any further? Would you look more? See why it scared you? That might be a good idea because your energy may have been involved in that door opening and closing. Maybe my son's energy was involved in having that last little bit of white smoke come up 5 minutes after his candle burnt out when he just happened to look at it when he walked back in the room. So, with this reflection of everything we've listened to and learned, and I have learned a ton from doing this podcast. I've been talking to Misty and some other people. I think we're gonna keep interviews, but I think we're gonna transition into some teaching techniques. Angelina, a former guest, has done some meditations and some other things, and she's recorded. And she let me listen to it, and I thought, man, it's really good, but it doesn't fit the podcast. And then I was like, well, why doesn't it? So I gave it some thought, and I talked to Misty, and it's like, yeah, I want to teach. That's what I want to do with my life is teach this stuff. And so, yeah, a meditation can definitely fit. Some of the other techniques that these other readers and people we've interviewed, people hopefully I haven't even met yet. Well, if you want to be a guest and teach something, let me know. And I will start teaching too. I'd like to talk about palmistry. I'd like to talk about intuition. I'd like to talk more about tarot with Donna. We're gonna have another tarot talk soon. We've had to reschedule a couple times. And really, if you're a beginner, I want to teach you. And if you want to reach out, I'm here. I'd love to talk. You can always email me. And you don't have to be a guest to email me. You can just write and ask a question. I will answer if I can. And thank you for listening. And Misty, thank you so much always for being there. Thank you so much to my husband and my sons and my family and everybody. There's a lot of gratitude. I mean, I had a hard time growing up. Not from my parents. I say growing up when I was in my 20s. uh, because maybe, some of this energy work stuff hadn't been worked, or it could be mental problems. There's a million directions, and a directions I took was, medicine and also energy work. I kind of tried all the angles, which and therapy and magic, and I just tried them all. I tried everything to find power over my self sabotage, power over my confusion, power over my fears, power over my weaknesses. Do I have it? Not all the way, because there's always new things coming. But I have better tools to adapt to the new things that may come up where I'll be challenged, like the tarot says, challenge. And where I'll suffer greatly and learn, hopefully. Because that's a good approach. If I think of everything as a learning experience, I can do that. I think, maybe for the first podcast where I teach something, I think I'd like to talk about thought patterns and how to control your thought patterns and switch around your perspective, which is a lot of what I do on the app Everclear with clients. And Everclear, if you don't know, that is our sponsor. They are wonderful. They are an advice app where you can get your advice from empaths and psychics. That's one place I do readings, and I do a lot of local readings. On Everclear, I definitely focus on trying to bring out people's intuition and letting them find their answers. And I also just love teaching and showing people. I love pulling it out of them. Like, you do realize that you're using energy. Do you realize it when you give him the eyes, or when you're feeling some kind of way about him or her or them? They're just like, oh, and you suspect. And you could take those thoughts, they are self-sabotage. You don't know. It's just you might know, but you don't for sure. Until you do, why not keep the thoughts positive? And if you keep your thoughts positive, when the truth comes, you'd probably be surprised it's not as bad as you thought, and there isn't anything to worry about most of the time. When there is, you'll be ready for it. You'll be able to handle it. Those fears that you may have of abandonment, it's in this kind of example, like with a relationship. Um, Either they leave or they don't. It's their choice. But if you were, this is an example of what I would like to teach for thinking different ways. So if this person you're with or in love with, you're so worried they might abandon you that you might push them away, and that's not rocket science, but it's also if you were to think of it as every single time you suspect they're cheating or suspect they are up to no good when they have bad, they don't really love you. Well, this is just an example. What if every single time you thought that, you immediately thought, yes, they do love me, and I'm acting in a way that is not authentic to me. And that might not feel comfortable. It might feel authentic to worry and feel like you're going to be abandoned because it's what you're used to. It doesn't have to be that way, though. The past does not define you. It's just the stuff you have to learn from, stuff you have to look back from, or look back at and learn from. It doesn't define us. It never will. Right now is all that matters. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.